GTA Online is infamous for its vast array of weaponry and accompanying weapon upgrades that allow you to absolutely decimate your fellow Los Santos inhabitants, whether they're NPCs or human players. However, unlike the insane number of options available to you in the shop, the number of slots in your weapon wheel is annoyingly limited, and it's also kind of a pain in the butt to drive to an armory or a weapons locker every time you feel like changing something up. Plus, you'll find that the funds in your bank account are also limited, which means you need to make wise purchasing decisions, especially if you're a low-level player or a beginner to the game. In this video, I'm not going to tell you about my personal loadout, but what I am going to do is give you a list of the 15 best weapons you can use in GTA Online spread across every single category, so you can make up your own mind based on your playstyle. I'm going to cover every single category except melee, because everyone knows that the stone hatchet is the best melee weapon in the game. Okay, with all that out of the way, there are several weapon categories to go through, so let's begin with one of the weapon types you're probably going to be using most frequently, the assault rifle. Now, in this category, few can hold up to the versatility and DPS of the Special Carbine. Not only is the Special Carbine incredibly precise at medium to long ranges with a really low time to kill, but it also has the option to accept 100-round drum magazines, turning it into a pseudo MG. And because it can be purchased even by low-level players, I highly recommend the regular version of the Special Carbine until you've accumulated enough cash for the Mark II variant. At first, the Mark II doesn't seem like it offers much of an upgrade in terms of DPS, but once you start getting into the special ammo types like armor-piercing rounds and full metal jacket, that's when the Mark II upgrade begins to pay off. And you don't need to purchase a workshop if you're a new player. You can just walk into the freak shop and upgrade to Mark II as long as you have the money for it. However, most of the Mark II benefits come from attachments like muzzle brakes, heavy barrels, etc. So I recommend sticking with the regular version until you have the upgrades researched from your bunker. Also, once you upgrade your Special Carbine to the Special Carbine Mark II, you do lose that 100-round drum magazine and you're limited to a maximum mag size of 60, so keep that in mind. Next up is the shotgun category, and for this one, I've actually got two separate picks here. First is, of course, the tried and tested assault shotgun. Anyone who's played this game has probably seen this weapon in action, and you don't need me to tell you how awesome it actually is. At close ranges, the assault shotgun is basically an insta-kill death ray, and once you unlock the extended drum mag, this thing can hold up to 32 shells, allowing you to unleash a murderous rampage upon waves of enemies. This gun shines in both PvE as well as PvP, and you can even attach a suppressor if you want to lower your sound signature for those stealth missions. Now, there is another contender for the title of best shotgun in the game, and that is the pump shotgun Mark II. And at first, it might seem like I'm giving you two guns that do the same job. After all, both of these shotguns are close-range street sweepers with tons of damage. However, the pump-action shotgun, when upgraded to the Mark II version, gains significant advantages over its automatic brother. First off, you can attach a holographic sight to take advantage of its slightly higher accuracy and higher base damage, but that's not really the reason that you should get the pump shotgun Mark II. No, the reason you should get it, and get it for this shotgun, is its support for incendiary as well as explosive shells. It's impossible to exaggerate just how effective these specialty rounds against human and mechanical targets are until you actually use them. Blowing up unarmored vehicles becomes trivial with the explosive ammo, as well as watching your enemies panic as you set them on fire with the Dragon's Breath rounds never ceases to be amazing. The limited 8-round capacity as well as slow follow-up shots are honestly the only two downsides of the pump shotgun Mark II, so make sure you nail your target on the first trigger pull, because if you do, they're rarely going to have a chance to retaliate against you. My next pick on today's list is categorized in-game as a handgun, but not only is it the second most expensive weapon on this list, it's also one of the most difficult to find, and as of now, the only way to get the up and Atomizer is through the gun van, which spawns in a different location every day, and the stock rotation rotates every single week. Now, thankfully, you can track it down with the interactive map on GTAweb.eu, but make sure you have a spare $399,000 in your bank account before you head over to buy this thing. So what does the up and Atomizer do? Well, it's not a conventional weapon. Instead, think of this alien-looking ray gun as a quality of life item. If, while doing a cell mission, you've watched helplessly as your Pounder Custom got stuck on a random piece of railing or against a tiny hill, wondering how you can get it unstuck, this gun right here is the answer. One zap and any vehicle will be dislodged from its previous position, free to move once again. While the up and Atomizer is particularly useful to free up large vehicles, it can also be used on smaller vehicles, and you can even troll people with it by zapping them continuously and tossing their car all over the place. Just don't do it to randoms, or else you might catch an RPG or orbital laser cannon strike in return. Now, speaking of specialty weapons, here's another good one, the stun gun. If you've ever done a mission that requires you to take someone alive without blowing a bunch of holes in them, this is your go-to weapon. And yes, I'm talking about those bail office bounties. Sure, you can walk up and hit the bounty in the head with a knuckle duster or shoot the weapon out of their hands, but having a stun gun makes this entire process so much faster and so much easier. If you do have a group of friends all armed with stun guns, you can stun lock anybody you want for eternity, which looks just as hilarious as it sounds. Just be ready with some lethal measures afterwards, because when that guy finally gets up, he's gonna be really pissed. Now, sticking with the category of one-handed weapons, we've got the AP pistol. This is a compact machine pistol based on the real-life Colt Scamp, and in my opinion, it is one of the coolest looking guns in the game. With an extended mag, this gun can hold up to 36 rounds, and it fires at a blisteringly fast rate of 600 rounds per minute. It's also deceptively controllable despite its ergonomics and high fire rate, so you can easily smoke entire gangs of enemies while driving your armored Kuruma or motorbike of choice. A nice alternative to the AP pistol is the tactical SMG, which is based on the real-life B&T MP9, and much like its real-life counterpart, this is a fairly expensive weapon at $325,000. Plus, again, you can only get it from the super secret gun van, which makes it a vanity item for crooks and criminals within Los Santos. However, the benefit of jumping through all these hoops is a single-handed weapon that holds a whopping 60 rounds per mag, so you can keep shooting while driving and not have to worry about reloads as often, and the fire rate at 573 RPM is slightly lower compared to the AP pistol, and this also means that the TTK is going to be slightly longer, but we're talking a couple hundredths of a second here. So both the AP pistol as well as the TAC SMG are top of their class for drive-by shootings, and basically anytime you're in a vehicle and need to use a weapon, and you honestly can't go wrong with either one. It just comes down to personal preference and whether you value the increased mag capacity of the SMG or the slightly higher fire rate of the pistol. Now, the final handgun on my list is a really special one here, and it's the Heavy Revolver Mark II. This is a classy looking piece of stainless steel with a 6-shot hexagonal shaped cylinder and custom ported barrel. If the AP pistol is Floyd Mayweather, this is prime Mike Tyson. Every single round fired from the Heavy Revolver Mark II hits you with the power of a freight train, and once you load up those incendiary rounds, it becomes one of the most satisfying handguns to shoot in the entire game. One shot torches every NPC, and even against players with max health and body armor, you can nail them down in a single hit to the head because human skulls aren't designed to cope with magnum power. In lobbies with aim assist enabled, this thing is an absolute menace at close ranges, and it's also very useful against vehicles and aircraft if you load it with FMJ rounds. And the first hit accuracy of the Heavy Revolver Mark II is also among the highest of any handgun, so you can easily land shots from targets even if they're moving. There's only one slot on my list dedicated to machine guns, and this one goes to the Combat MG Mark II. It is the single most highest DPS automatic rifle in the game, and since it's belt fed, you can feed it up to 200 rounds at a time before you have to reload. And if you're willing to take a hit to ammo capacity, you can even fire incendiary, armor piercing, as well as full metal jacket rounds out of this machine gun. It's also very controllable, so you can easily keep all of your rounds on a man-sized target in full auto mode at close to medium ranges without having to resort to short bursts like you would with an SMG, for example. And because it deals more damage than assault rifles, the Combat MG Mark II will shred even the most heavily armored targets in no time. Now, throwables is my next category, and for this, I have one recommendation: sticky bombs. These are basically the plasma grenades from Halo, minus the cool alien face melting tech, and at just $400 a pop, sticky bombs are insanely cheap for the amount of value they offer you, and you should always have a few of those in your inventory, whether you're doing missions or free roaming, because you never truly know when you might need to toss one of those on a vehicle that's annoying you. Alright, it's finally time to talk about heavy weapons. These big boys are designed to take down armored targets, groups of enemies, and vehicles. And the first heavy on my list is the Venerable Grenade Launcher, which can be purchased for $32,400 once you reach rank 60. It's basically a portable artillery piece that fires 40mm grenades, and it's effective against both human and vehicle targets. You can also use it to snipe targets hiding behind cover, thanks to the explosion's blast radius, which is really high. And probably the coolest thing about this grenade launcher is the fact that its grenades bounce off walls before they explode if you shoot it at a close range. So if you know there are enemies hiding inside an alleyway or passage, you can shoot at an angle without exposing your body and kill them with the bounce off. In PvE missions, this is a must-have, especially for Franklin security contracts where you're tasked with defending a position, for example. The ability to fire over obstacles like a mortar is highly underrated because most other explosive weapons only work in direct line of sight, so you can only hit stuff that's in your crosshair. That's not the case with the grenade launcher in GTA Online, because if you know how to angle it right, you can send grenades flying all over the walls and behind houses when your enemies least expect it. The minigun is the next heavy weapon, and as cool as it looks, you do sacrifice a lot of mobility while wielding one of these, so be careful. Overall, I think the minigun is a lot more useful in PvE when you're dealing with tanky enemies like juggernauts, for example, because in PvP, good players will just flank you with headshots or snipe you from far away before you become a threat. Also, if you're getting a minigun, get the regular one, not the Widowmaker. The two are identical in terms of DPS, range, and fire rate, except with the Widowmaker, you're placing a giant beacon on your head that screams, "Here I am," for every guy with an aircraft. So unless you like catching homing missiles to the dome, stick with the more discreet option. And speaking of homing missiles, let's talk about the RPG as well as the homing launcher. Both do the same job, which is killing cars and aircraft, but with the RPG, you get 20 shots instead of 10, and ammo is much cheaper. Another thing worth noting is that while the homing rockets can track vehicles, their lock-on isn't as strong as other types of homing missiles in the game, so skilled pilots flying aircraft will almost always evade your shoulder-fired homing missiles. The final heavy weapon I'm going to recommend here in today's video is the Railgun, which costs an insane $730,000, making it the most expensive weapon on my list, even surpassing the Up and Atomizer we talked about previously, which looks cheap in comparison. And you can only buy the Railgun from the gun van once again, so make sure you've got the GTA interactive map open in a separate tab on your PC because you're definitely going to need it. But is the Railgun worth it? If you're going after vehicles, I'd say yes, definitely. It's like firing explosive rounds from the Heavy Sniper Mark II, only better because the darts coming out of your railgun do more damage to vehicles. The only downside is that this is a projectile-based weapon instead of hit scan like the Heavy Snipers, so you do need some skill to land faraway shots on moving targets, but despite this, the low reload time as well as easy ammo availability make it one of the best anti-aircraft guns in the entire game. With heavy weapons covered, let's end the list with snipers. It shouldn't come as a surprise that I absolutely love the Heavy Sniper Mark II. It's a staple of GTA Online, and it's basically the default long-range anti-human as well as anti-vehicle rifle used by pretty much every player. FMJ rounds can take out lightly armored cars and aircraft, while the explosive rounds can blow up tankier vehicles like the Toreador and Duke of Death. With the thermal scope installed, not a single enemy can escape your eyes, and you can one-shot any two-legged creature in your sight. The only downsides to this weapon are its limited magazine size as well as ammo capacity, but you rarely need more than what's provided. And then if you fancy yourself a Marksman rifle with higher ammo capacity and a faster firing rate than the Heavy Sniper, you might want to get the Marksman rifle. I know, really clever naming, but this is actually a very underrated weapon, probably the most underrated on today's list, mainly because people looking to deal damage at shorter distances usually go with a carbine or a shotgun, and those looking for long-range action pick up the Heavy Sniper, which drops targets in one hit. So the Marksman rifle is kind of stuck in this forgotten no man's land in people's minds. However, there is one aspect to this weapon that I see very few people mention, and that's the fact that it's a long-distance headshot machine once you load it with AP rounds. Because it's a sniper class weapon, it has no real damage drop-off, even if you go past 50 meters, which is well beyond the effective headshot range of assault rifles. And since it can use AP rounds, your shots completely ignore the helmet on your enemy's head, as well as any buffs like favorite bike and BST. All you need to do is throw a basic red dot on there and use the Marksman rifle Mark II like a DMR, which is the way it was intended, rather than a long distance sniper. Because while it may suck as a general purpose sniper, it's absolutely wonderful as a DMR as long as you go for headshots. And there you have it, guys, my top 15 weapons in GTA Online across every single category. Feel free to make a custom loadout using any or all of these recommendations, and let me know if I missed out on any of your favorite weapons in the comments section below. Do you have better or favorite alternatives to the weapons I listed here? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, drop a like if you guys enjoyed the video, if you found it informative, subscribe if you want to see more GTA Online content like this, because I release new GTA Online videos every single day. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next GTA 5 online video. Adios, amigos.